Back in 1847, J.N. Collier Sr. made his way to southeast Texas from Georgia, aiming to open up a general store. Now, this was just before the Civil War kicked off, and only 2 years after Texas had become a state. Pioneers were just pouring into Texas at that time, all looking for land to farm, and well, those settlers sure needed stores. After opening general stores in Colemanile, Woodland, Town Bluff, and Rockland, the Colliers decided to relocate in 1905 to a brand new logging town called Silsbee. This place was being built by Collier's boyhood friend, John Henry Kirby. His first wooden store, built right on a mayhaw swamp, sold food stock and animal feed. Since the store sat at a crossroads during a time when logging towns were popping up all over, the store did extremely well. In 1923, J.N. Collier built a large, modern brick store built directly in front of the old store. The store was built with heavy timbers from the Kirby sawmill and iron beams brought in on the train. Bright red clay bricks were used on the exterior walls, much improved from the rough wooden store. The construction on this building was something to see, and locals watched it emerge with particular interest. Those beams still bear his hand-scribed address, just as it was marked by the train workers 100 years ago. The building was something of a marvel for its time and place in history. Bright red bricks framed the large windows filled with merchandise displays. 2 hand-pumped gasoline tanks offered gasoline in front of the store for the early 1920s cars. It was at a time in history when both cars and wagons parked in front of the store. Collier also turned the old store into a warehouse to store his stock, which was brought in wooden crates from the train depot just a short walk from the store. Wagons would transfer the goods to the warehouse until needed. On one end of the warehouse, Collier built a small cotton gin to serve the cotton farmers of Silsbee. Across the street, where today there is a farmer's market pavilion, Collier built a large feed store. The first little wooden store had grown into a tapestry of businesses. In 1905, store clerk R.H. Griffith said that the merchandise moved so quick we would sit up half the night getting ready for the next day. At that time, there was a lot of activity in downtown Silsbee, especially on Fridays and Saturdays, and customers could buy clothing for the whole family, and shoes. Now, there were generations of men and women who honestly made their career out of clerking in Collier's store. They took pride in fitting ladies and gentlemen in both work clothes and fine clothing, and personally fitting shoes on a shoe stool. Really taking the time with each customer. Many of the clerks were actually Collier family, including grandson J.N. Collier III, who still remembers, well, selling candy behind the counter. J.N. Collier was a good friend to Silsbee. He always fed the hungry, whether they had money or not, and wrote off a whole lot of past due bills during the Depression. The remaining Collier store receipts in the museum, well, they're either marked cash or credit. This was just the way of life in early Silsbee. One of his many contributions to Silsbee was the purchase of its first firefighting equipment, those hand-pumped fire wagons, which, by the way, were stored right there in his warehouse. The Collier store really was the cornerstone of downtown Silsbee for over a century. In the 1960s, after the Collier family, it became a Morgan and Lindsay store, part of a chain of so-called dime stores that were real popular in that time. The variety didn't really change. You could buy anything from clothing to candy for its remaining decades of use. As the store aged, in spite of many attempts by local citizens to restore that huge building, it became, well, obvious that it just couldn't be restored to maintain its place in downtown Silsbee for another century. On April 29, 2025, 103 years after it was built, it was torn down. Some of its red bricks were saved by the museum to create a walkway at the Ice House Museum just 2 blocks away to remember the old Collier General Store and the 103 years it stood as Silsbee came of age.